and talking about how all of this came together, tying all of this history together. And then you got Roman Reigns turning around and putting it back on him and saying, you leaving 10, 11, 12 years ago, whatever it was, I guess 12 years ago now, at this point, that made my life so much harder than it needed to be. It actually made life very hard for a lot of people who had to go out there week after week and contend with chants of CM Punk during their promos and during their matches. For many years, Roman was the poster child. Now, because Roman was the chosen one, Roman was the one who was being shoved down people's throats. And there was an all-out rebellion by a certain segment of the audience who just didn't want it. They rejected it. And they rejected it in part because he wasn't CM Punk, and because he wasn't Daniel Bryan, right? We can go back in the history, in the history bank and talk all about that. So I like the fact that they were drawing off a lot of their history here. And the intensity that we saw, in particular from Roman Reigns. He was doing his thing out there when things got started. But it was when Roman had the opportunity to respond and throw it right back in his face. You could see where it sort of built. It built until finally he was able to just go all out at Punk. And Punk did fine. I mean, Punk was great here. But the real highlight of this segment was Roman Reigns. He made it very clear, I don't like you. I hate you. And you talk about, following in my footsteps. He's talking about the fact that, you come back after all these years, and you steal my wise men, and you try to brainwash my family, and you always had me brainwashed. And there's just an intensity in his voice that we have not seen in a very long time, where he was getting viscerally angry. And they worked the interview the other day into the promo. Now, I said when I talked about Roman's comments the other day from that interview, I said, it sounded like it was mostly, in character. But there were still some things that he said in that promo that I think were valid in terms of WWE creative. There was definitely some truth laced into that little promo that he cut there. But clearly it was designed as a storyline. It's something that they were going to bring up here on this show, especially when Punk brought up the fact that Roman was talking about, he's talking about the roster needs to step up. You take your quarterly vacations. I'm being very magnanimous. I'm stepping away. I'm giving people a chance to step up. And that all came into play in the promo here tonight. But again, it's no surprise that Roman would go out there and be able to cut the best promo that I have ever heard him cut when he was face-to-face with CM Punk. He tends to bring the best out of people when they are going at it on the microphone. We saw that in the feud with Drew McIntyre. I mean, it was the perfect foil. That's a big part of what made that whole feud so great. That and the social media stuff that Drew was doing, right? I mean, it was just on point. But it's been a while since Punk has really had someone like this, someone great like this to spar with. I would love to have more of this on the road to WrestleMania. I'd love to have at least a couple more segments like this between now and mid-April, and I really hope that this is not the best that we're going to get before we get to Las Vegas. And if we can get more of this sort of thing, and if we can get more compelling segments like this, then you know what? It'll be worth it. But it's still a fear of mine that we don't know how much of Roman Reigns we are going to see. Now, there's another question here that comes along with this. Now that we know what the WrestleMania main event is going to be, there are people who will look at last year and go, well, CM Punk got to headline his first WrestleMania, but that's not really the WrestleMania main event. That's night one. That doesn't count. Now, I think that's bullshit. There are a lot of people who feel that way. I don't think you're going to need to worry about that this year, because not yet knowing what the Drew McIntyre match is going to be for the NFL, it seems pretty clear to me watching this show here tonight what the Night 2 main event of WrestleMania is going to be. I don't think that there is a match they can do on the SmackDown side that is going to be able to, in terms of the star power that they have in this match, and then you watch this promo here, there's no match that I can think of in terms of Cody and Drew and Jacob, Cody and Drew and Jacob and Randy maybe, right? It's going to be some combination of that. God forbid it's just another singles match between Cody and Drew, because we've had enough of those. This right here is your Night 2 WrestleMania main event. So for the first time, I expect to see the World Heavyweight Championship truly headlining a WrestleMania. Because that is typically the spot that Roman Reigns is in. Now, it wasn't last year, but typically that is the spot you would expect to find him in anyway. So that is what I expect the Night 2 match to be this year. Yeah, I've been telling him, Shane Jackson Jr. on his podcast last year, that if you want to make the world title mean something, you have me fight for it. You know, if Roman Reigns was to go in there and win the World Heavyweight Championship, which there's certainly a possibility that it could happen, what does that look like? If Roman actually goes in there and wins the bout, how often are we going to see Roman Reigns coming out of WrestleMania? Because if Roman Reigns goes in there this year and loses at WrestleMania, that would be 3 straight WrestleManias that Roman has lost. Do we really expect to see Roman Reigns losing in 3 straight WrestleManias? That's the question. That's why I sit here and say, you know what, there's definitely the possibility that they could put that championship on him. And if we got this version of Roman Reigns more often on TV, this is what I'm talking about. The rest of this show was largely a bore. It was a bore. Until we got to the closing segment, you see the greatness that is there. You can just find the right story to pull it out. It's this thing that these television shows are missing. Now, you can't do a promo like this every single week. But this is the thing that this show is lacking. And that's one of my biggest gripes with some of these big names that come in and they're not, they're there for 2 weeks and they disappear for 2 months. It just drags the shows down. There's a reason why they're in the spot they're in. Well, they're not on the show. But the show is still kind of built around them. And we're watching week to week. I mean, when was the last time we had a promo segment like this? Probably going back to the Drew McIntyre CM Punk stuff, and that was 2 years ago at this point. Maybe some of the John Cena stuff last year. It's few and far between. So that was another takeaway when I was watching this. Man, this right here is the sort of thing that Raw desperately needs more of. Because I'm watching this promo, and as great as it is, you got the impression watching it. And it's just, they were just very good at what they did, but you got the impression watching it like, man, this guy really doesn't like this guy. It comes off as like there's genuine hate between them, and it feels like there's some real tension there. That's what this show is lacking. The show is lacking that feeling of real tension between the different people on the show. And we got that in the closing segment. Outside everything else that we had on this television show, that we had with the World Championship Street Fight there were in Philadelphia, and the Philadelphia fans could not be bothered to give a single solitary shit about most of that match, or really a lot of different things on the show. And it was not a great match. They had a WWE-style hardcore plunder match. I feel like if you've seen one, you've seen them all. There were certain moments in the match that did not exactly go according to plan. Stephanie is still the world champion. Liv Morgan laid her out. We had that parting shot of her holding up the world title. She's going to SmackDown on Friday night to survey the WWE champion in Jade Cargill. But again, it seems pretty clear where things are going to land as far as the women's world title match at WrestleMania is concerned. Raquel fits into that after losing tonight. That's another thing. We'll have to see how that plays out. The show started off in what I thought was a great way. I actually had high hopes when this show came on the air tonight because they had this whole look of it. Ratings going absolutely fucking nuts. After what happened with the Rumble, I'm like, again, this is the sort of thing we need to see more of on this show. They're stepping outside their comfort zone here, the way they open things, and it can't be done. And then I saw the rest of the show up until the closing 15 minutes, and I was like, oh, okay. Psych. They faked me out, because what we got was very uninspired, but we didn't get any sort of further clarity on the whole masked man angle from the Royal Rumble. They're going to drag that out as long as they possibly can. Obafemi still has not made his decision on where he's going to land. The story is that both general managers are just tripping over themselves trying to sign him as they should. What they did with him tonight was very curious. I would be very worried if I were the people that were in the ring with him. So we're going to talk about that. And the other things that happened on this show, not a whole hell of a lot, but we're going to talk about it. This is a Raw Netflix review. It is the post-Royal Rumble edition of Raw. It is Groundhog Day 2026. I'm Hassan Wozniak. You can check. I thought I saw that the groundhog saw his shadow. That furry little fucker. I think that means 6 more weeks of winter. Just what we need. But if I think he saw his shadow. So that sucks. Like and subscribe. Super chats are open. We have a bonus goal going on in the chat. We'll be reading the messages as we go along here in the stream a little bit later on. And the ultimate Rumble. If you participated in our Royal Rumble poll in the private group on Facebook, there were how many polls were there? 38, 39. We had over 100 people, well over 100 people participate. So if you did, thank you. Shout out to Julian Cannon for putting all that together. He sent me a list of all the winners in their respective pools. What we're going to do a little bit later on is I have a list randomizer. We're going to actually pick 4 winners. So we're going to pick 2 first place winners and 2 second place winners. And I'll explain how that's all going to work. There's some prizes I know that he's giving away. So we're going to pick some random winners later. You'll want to stay tuned for that, especially if you took part in the pool. You'll definitely want to stick around for that. Let's bust out the wheel here before we get into the show. And let us find out how many likes we are going to need to do Be the Booker. The ever exciting wheel. Wheel of Fortune. Oh, this is just a slam dunk right here. 299. I mean, I can do that blindfolded. This should be easy. 299 likes is all we need tonight. And I actually think I have to spin again because I think we're already at 341. So we can't allow that. We've already broken that number. We've already broken that. We have to spin again. I gotta set this higher. Alright, 361. What are we at? 341? Alright, go ahead. I want you to hit the goal before I'm even done talking about the opening segment. I think it's safe to say we'll probably be doing Be the Booker later. And I gotta bump these numbers up higher. That's what I gotta do. Don't worry. I'm gonna set them higher here from now on. Well, let's get into the beginning of this show here. Instead of the usual start again, I really like the way they open this show. Instead of the usual open to Raw, right into tonight's video. The show opens, and there's Braun Breaker, and he's standing at ringside, and he's already at ringside, walking towards the area where the announce desk is. And Michael Cole's on commentary talking about what's going on here. And he marches over there. He tears up the announce desk. He threatens Michael Cole. He threatens Corey Graves. Then he overturns the announce desk. We haven't even gotten to the first match yet. The announce desk is gone. The front panels are on the ground. Everything is on the ground. He demands a microphone. He didn't demand a microphone as forcefully as his uncle did when he debuted at the Survivor Series in 2002. You remember what Scott Steiner said when he asked for a microphone? Oh, man. So anyway, Breaker got into the ring, and she starts speaking, and the other members of the Vision, no music or anything, they're marching down to the ring to try to calm him down. To get into the ring, he calls out Adam Pearce, Paul Heyman, and the Vision, and begging him to calm down. Breaker accuses Pearce of ruining his Royal Rumble appearance, so he threatened to ruin Monday Night Raw. He's going to ruin the whole show. If you missed the Royal Rumble and don't know what this is in reference to, Braun Breaker entered at number 2 on Saturday. Before he even got to the ring, he got choked by a masked man. Triple H loves his winner's fingers. And this individual gave him a punch on the floor, put him in the ring, and then he was promptly eliminated by Logan Femi. Pretty embarrassing. So Braun Breaker was the first man eliminated in the Royal Rumble. I don't know that he spent more than 10 seconds in the ring. So he was very upset about this. Heyman's at the microphone. The Vision is trying to talk Breaker down. Heyman said that this was all Adam Pearce's fault. Pearce has to approve every visa for this trip to Saudi Arabia, so he had to know who the best man was. He also accused Pearce about him again of making Braun the number 2 entrance. He blamed him for that. Breaker grabbed the microphone, and he gave Pearce until the count of 3. And he counted 1, he counted 2. Adam Pearce then comes out. He's just guarded by a wall of security standing in front of him. And Pearce reminded them that the Rumble drive was random. You chose number 2. Okay, so you can't blame me for that. It was random. You picked the number. That's on you. He also brought up the Masked Man stuff. And he said, now, the last time we saw the Masked Man, it turned out to be Austin Theory. Breakker turned to Theory like he was wondering, hey, wait a minute. And you see Bronson Reed just, talking to Breakker going, it's not him, don't worry. It's not him. Pearce said, though, I'm going to give you a gift. And I'm going to let you keep your job after that piss-poor performance at the Rumble. So Breakker snapped at that point. He scrambled in the aisle. He actually had getting out of the ring. He was so intent on getting that out of Pearce. He actually tripped getting out of the ring and almost fell flat on his face. He got back up to his feet. He went down the aisle and he was stopped by Bronson Reed before he could tear through security. Pearce was at that point disappeared. All of a sudden we hear LA Knight's music. In LA Knight, he appeared from the crowd in the ring. He blindsides Austin Theory and Logan Paul with chair shots. Bronson Reed chased them off. And a very upset Bron Breakker, still in the aisle, is looking at Paul Heyman and going, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? And at that point, security sort of parted the Red Sea, and they allowed Breakker to head to the back without incident. And then at that point, they pitched it to the Royal Rumble highlights video. So I thought that this was a great start to the show. I love this cold open. I love it when they go outside the box in terms of how they open these shows. They do something different. They make it feel like, man, something like a very tense situation here. This guy is going to snap. There's no telling what he's going to do. It kind of reminded me, many years ago, if you remember, after WrestleMania 31, that was where Seth Rollins cashed in his Money in the Bank. Brock Lesnar came out on Raw the very next night. And he was already in his gear. I remember being in the crowd, and when Brock came out, the pop that he got just for being in his gear, just the idea that, holy shit, he's going to wrestle on Raw. People couldn't believe it. But he was just so beside himself after what happened the night before. He was ready to murder someone. And they gave us that phony match with Rollins that never really got started, or Rollins ran off. And Brock was just looking for people to kill. Remember, he gave Michael Cole an F5 shoot went flying to beat up this planted cameraman. So it's been a while since we've had a segment like that on the show here. And Breakker, I thought he was very menacing out there, as he should be. As he should be. This is exactly the sort of thing I wanted to see them do with him coming out of the Rumble, because when TV embarrassed, he should be ready to murder Adam Pearce. Or whoever the Masked Man is, and we still don't know. So I think they handled this very well here. Again, we didn't get any more clarity on who the Masked Man is. That'll come in due time. They're going to milk that for a little while longer. I also love how Adam Pearce could not have possibly given less of a shit about how upset Bron Breakker was, and just mouthing off to him like a wise ass. He's got some brass balls. Yeah, when the GM has some balls and stands up to these guys, I like that. I like that. I think that's great. I think Adam Pearce is actually great in this role. He's already been doing this for 5 years. I think he's been in this role. Going back to the Thunderdome era, and even I think before that, he's been the Raw. I don't know if they were calling him the GM at the moment, but he's basically been the Raw GM. Probably longer than anybody else. Right, we got a bunch of people in this role. I don't know that any of them have been in that position longer than Adam Pearce. So he certainly has been the best GM they've ever had here on this show. I used to say it was Eric Bischoff. Even Bischoff recently in that role for about 3 years. Before Vince moved to the back of the garbage truck and off he went. So I thought Pearce actually here was great. I would say that he's got a beating coming, but that would require them to then at least suspend him. We already got the angle where he was suspended, so I don't really see the point of doing that again. But it just feels like they're building some sort of confrontation between him and Adam Pearce, and I don't think it's a match. So I'm not sure what else short of him killing him, I'm not really sure what else can be done here, but I just loved how sarcastic he was. So we had Javon Evans. He was out there for the opening match against El Grande Americano. This was a match, if you remember, that was filmed 2 weeks ago when it looked like Evans might have been injured, which thankfully he wasn't. It's the second time tonight. That is now the second time tonight that I have had to hear that music. That's one thing to hear it on the stream, but to hear it again on my TV. We need some Macho Man to cleanse the palate after that. It's this feeling of just this internal pain, like a physical pain that I can feel. Evans had a wrap on his right elbow. He had some kinesio tape on the back of his neck. He was holding his ribs. I mean, he's like the walking wounded out there, but he didn't wrestle like it. He was wrestling like nothing was wrong. But you would think that he had, various injuries. He was the Iron Man in the Men's Royal Rumble this year, which was 41 minutes, which, I mean, it's a decent amount of time. Usually when you think of these Iron Man records, it's closer to an hour. Charlotte actually, she won the Rumble last year. Charlotte was probably in the Women's Rumble for about an hour. Roxanne Perez was in the final 2 last year. She was in there for like 67 minutes. So 41 minutes was the longest in the Men's Rumble this year. That belonged to Javon Evans. There was a corkscrew kick at one point here to Americanos. And as he was down, so he just came down with this kick. So the red dot connected, which is that rebound kick that he does off the ropes. Later on, it looked like he was going coast to coast, and I mean, I guess he did. He did a swanton from one corner to the other, and his foot caught Kaiser in the head on the way down. And with Kaiser down, Evans went to the top. When Ryan Americano, he got up on the apron to distract the referee, Chad Pat, which allowed Ron to approach Evans, and he put down into the ring. Ryan then slipped the metal plate to Kaiser, and as this was going on, we hear the OG of Grande Americano's music, as we did during the Royal Rumble on Saturday, and it was Gable Americano. Again, assuming a goatee or a beard, you can see on the mask. This was his return for the first time in many months, and all he did was come out, he posed, and he put his fingers in the air, like he was standing on stage, and this, of course, distracts the other Americanos. And the referee, during all of this, sees the metal plate, so he confiscates it. That allows Evans to come off the top, way off the top, and he catches Kaiser Americano coming down with the OG cutter for the win. Nothing happened after the match. I mean, the three Americanos in the ring, they just made mean faces under their masks, and they pointed at Gable Americano in the aisle. There were some awkward periods of silence during this match, which was kind of strange. It almost felt like Cole and Graves thought they were going to a commercial break, and then they didn't. But to be fair, I mean, I don't know that they had yet reconstructed the announce desk. I don't think they had their desk and their monitors back yet, so I'm sure that probably had something to do with it. As far as where this goes, first of all, let me just say, finally, good to have Chad Gable back. And this guy is fucking ripped. And he is just ripped to shreds. Obviously, we're going to get a men's person aspect. I mean, that has to be where this is ultimately leading. And the only thing is, Kaiser is, as a babyface, doing this gimmick in Mexico whenever he shows up in AAA. I cannot imagine that they're going to want to take that mask off of him anytime soon. So the earliest we get this match, this should be a WrestleMania match. If we get that match at WrestleMania, I would think that probably Kaiser is going to win. Because, again, he's just so over. I wouldn't think that they're ready to abandon the gimmick just yet. And there's another reason also to not abandon the gimmick for him, which is that Chad Gable does not need to be El Grande Americano. You know, it was like, it was kind of cute at first, and now it's gone on for so long. I know he just came back. Let Chad Gable be Chad Gable. Do this stuff until we get to WrestleMania. Let him get the WrestleMania match out of it. You can do mask versus mask. I think if you do it, Gable should be the one who gets unmasked. That way Kaiser can keep doing his thing in AAA, and Chad Gable can move on to something else and let the man be himself. Because this is beneath him at this point. So tie up this loose end, finish out this story, get that mask off of him, let Kaiser run with it because he took the ball with this thing, and he ran with it. So let him keep doing it, and get Gable the hell out of that mask. Hopefully that's the same idea that they have in their head. Now after a commercial break, this was great. They played AJ Styles music. Like, oh, he wasn't advertised for the show, but this makes sense if he is retired. We should hear from him. We got no speech, we got no promo. We have not heard a word from AJ Styles since the Royal Rumble when he lost to Gunther. So they play his music, and it's not AJ Styles. It is Gunther. The only thing I wished about what they did here is that Gunther would have had special gloves made. And with his logo on them to do the thing that AJ does with his hands. That's the only thing that would have made this better. But he walks out, and he does the AJ pose. And he's just got this huge grin on his face. It was great. He trolled the shit out of these people. And then they transitioned into his theme song. He got more heat for this than he did for tapping out John Cena. Okay, he got a good amount of heat for this. And also now when he comes out, they have the words "career killer" on the side screens next to the entranceway. And of course, that's what they trademarked last week and the week before. That's what he's calling himself now, the career killer. Every time he would try to speak, they would drown him out with booze. Just like Bill Goldberg, he said, just like John Cena. AJ Styles found out that when you step into the ring with the career killer, your career and your legacy dies. He started speaking Austrian, I guess, as Dragon Lee ran out to the ring. No music. They just cut to the aisle, and you see Dragon Lee is running down in the middle of this promo, and he attacks Gunther. And he knocks Gunther out of the ring, and then he catches him with this wild suicide dive. And then a Hurricane Rana off the barricade that sent Gunther careening into the ring post. Then he sent Gunther over the barricade into the Timekeeper's area. So now Dragon Lee, who of course was tag team champions with AJ Styles, so he's very upset that Gunther is out here, gloating about this. He backs up, and he's getting ready to charge in toward his barricade. As he comes charging in, Gunther jumps up from behind the barricade and smashes him in the head with the ring bell. So then after that, he locks on a sleeper hold on Dragon Lee on the ground. Referees and producers, they run out to try to pry him off. They did get him off. They got Gunther into the ring. And then Gunther reaches out through the ropes, grabs a hold of Dragon Lee, brings him up on the apron, and reapplies the sleeper hold until his legs just go limp. And he's just dangling there. And then he lets go. And Dragon Lee goes splat on the ground outside, like a dead body. And then Gunther puts his jacket back on. And he proceeds to walk to the back, although he did not have the smile on his face that he had when he initially came out here. Shit got serious real quick. He wasn't laughing anymore. But he looked like a killer out there. Which is good, because he should. That's how he should look. I mean, Gunther is great when he's trolling, and he's just such a great scumbag. He has that look to him, and when he's smirking and smiling, he's got that face, you just want to punch him in the face. But there are times where, he should get serious. And this is exactly how he should be portrayed. He should be portrayed as a killer. So I like what they did here. I assume we're going to get a match out of this on TV in the next couple of weeks. I'll tell you what I was surprised by, and we better get something. No speech or promo or follow-up or anything from AJ Styles. We still don't know what the future holds for AJ Styles. There's a lot of different explanations for us not hearing from him. If his contract was up, and he truly is done with WWE, there is still the possibility that we will see him pop up somewhere else and wrestle more matches. I don't know that I am as confident about that now as maybe I was a few days ago. A lot of people are saying he's really done. You got people in WWE who were there with him in Saudi Arabia saying, oh, I talked to him and I take him at his word. Triple H said it. No, he's done. He's done with the in-ring. I think he just wanted to be done. We thought we would have him for longer, but he's done. Maybe he is. But especially if that's the case. Because if it's not the case and he's leaving and going somewhere else, I totally understand it. We may not see him on TV anymore. But if he's done, we gotta hear from him. Like at some point, you gotta send him out there and let him address the audience one last time. Let him get that send-up. Let him give that closure. Right? We have to hear from him. I thought it might happen tonight. He was not on the show. So if he is not willing to continue his career elsewhere, then I do hope we get that segment very soon. They replayed the angle from a few months ago where the Vision beat up LA Knight and he got a tsunami splash on top of him. We come back live in the back. Paul Heyman tells Adam Pearce, you're going to book a match tonight. Breakker against LA Knight. Pearce said, can't do it. Heyman says, why not? Because he just walked LA Knight out of the building. Because I can't have people disrupting my show. So he's not here anymore. He told Heyman, if you know what's good for Braun Breaker, you'll do the same. And you'll escort him. Not for me. He goes, also let Bronson Reed know that he should go get ready because he's got a match with Penta. Heyman asked him if he had a clue as to who you were speaking to and in what city you are speaking to him in. Where's the city they were in tonight? The city that Paul Heyman will forever be associated with. The city of brotherly love. The city that moved Santa Claus. Once upon a time. And Pearce told him FAFO, which that's the same line that Heyman used on him. I think it was a pre-show on Saturday. So Pearce threw it right back in his face. Adam Pearce has had enough Visions shit. That is one of the big takeaways of this show tonight. He has had it with the Vision shit, and it's a little awkward because if you think back to last week, when he invited Braun Breaker back to the show from his suspension, and he reinstated him. I figured he would reinstate him and then say, hey, by the way, you're going to be number one, right at the front line. He reinstated him. He was very nice to him. Heyman and all that was the Vision all over the field. And there was no shoe that dropped. There was no, like, oh, by the way. And it was like, does this have to do with that mysterious phone call that he got, saying he's got to? But he was just being very nice to the Vision. There was never any real follow-up to it. And then this week, it's the complete opposite. Where he doesn't have care anymore. He's like, yeah, let me out of fire you for embarrassing yourself in the Rumble of being eliminated. Now you can leave the building. FAFO. It's a big change in demeanor for Adam Pearce from one week to the next. But yeah, I like this thing you're telling you. I think it's very good for the as far as the Vision goes, the most interesting part about the Vision right now is actually the Adam Pearce Braun Breaker stuff. I want to see where it goes. After Braun Breaker was freaking out backstage, as Heyman tried to calm him down, he said, no, I don't care. And Breaker, he exited, I presume he exited the arena, which I guess he did, because we didn't see him again for the rest of the show. As far as the masked man stuff, I don't know where it's going to lead. My guess is, first of all, it was not Seth Rollins, it's Saudi Arabia. Whoever played the role of Saudi, it almost doesn't even matter, because it's going to be equal test. So it's completely different when we get to it. It literally could be anybody. Although that person would have to have facial hair, because the masked man from Saturday had facial hair. I jumped up straight the other night during the Rumble. We watched me Logan Paul. Because Logan Paul last week was very deferential to Roman Reigns. He was the one who stood up in that backstage segment and said, you know, why would you come Roman Reigns? So, like, they were in solidarity. They're like, we're not going to win. We think Braun should win. Which is like the opposite of what you would expect someone like Logan Paul to say. So it ended up being kind of terribly sorry. I'll throw it out there like half joking, but who knows? It could end up being him. It could end up being Seth Rollins, and they're just going to drag it out until Seth is medically cleared. It could very well be Seth, and we don't get the reveal for another, month and a half. Who knows? It's kind of pointless to speculate on it because I don't even know if they have settled necessarily on who they want it to be. But it definitely gets people talking. And back in the arena, this right here was quite the segment. It was the Big Show, says Punjabi Playboy. Really? Maybe if you put him in the dryer for a few hours. Then maybe it would be the Big Show. Let me tell you something. Big Show didn't move like that when he was younger. And if you've seen the Big Show move around these days, he don't move around like that. In the arena, the War Raiders got the jobber entrance. They were already in the ring. Eric and Ivar, when was the last time you even saw them on TV? I don't hear. It's like it's been a couple of months. They're in the ring. They're waiting for their opponents. There is a scheduled match. I don't think they ever told us who the scheduled opponents were. But Michael Cole and We're getting there. We're getting very close to that segment. Yes, thank you. Deathside, thank you. He's jumping the gun here.
Hey, remember when...
Being a librarian maker even...
They get the jobber entrance, and instead of their scheduled opponents, they play Oba Femi's music. Now, Oba has been rumored to be landing on Raw, but they're doing the gimmick where, wait, what's he doing here? He's not supposed to be here. He's a free agent. Adam Pearce and Nick Aldis, they're fighting over who's going to sign this man. But he'll probably end up being on Raw. He comes out, gets his full entrance. He's not supposed to be there. This is completely unscheduled, so he dances down to the ring. So I guess this is his official Raw debut. And Oba immediately goes to work and like a one-man wrecking crew. And he gets the fall from Grace. Just like that pop-up that he does. Drops Eric. Like he's a big man. He's lighter than Ivar, but he's still a big guy. So he drops lightweight. And I thought they were going to do something more. I thought he was going to do something to Ivar. That was it. He stood there and made some weird faces. And they played his music, and he closed, and that was the end of that. And the first thing I wrote down in my notes is this was. I said, if Mikey Raiders, I would be very lucky to get my job. This, again, I'm not even joking, this segment, it felt like the kind of segment that you would see on Monday, and then on Tuesday or Wednesday, you would hear like so has been released and is wishful in their future. And we've seen them do this before. We've seen them do it. Not just people who expect them put on NXT. Where they'll be in a match on a Tuesday. And within a day or two, they're gone. They get that one last match out. They use somebody else over and then they're gone. That's what this felt like to me. It felt like, you know what, we don't have anything planned for these guys, so let's just use them and have them get demolished to help get this other guy. I hope that doesn't happen. I'm not trying to will anything into existence, but and usually it's the post-WrestleMania cuts. We're not quite there yet, but I would be very concerned if I were them. But it also, to me, shows just how little they care about an already very depleted tag team division. That they have not lifted a finger to put any sort of effort into. I mean, the tag team divisions on both shows. On the men's side, the women's tag team division is actually the strongest tag team division of any in all of WWE. And how the fuck did that happen? But that's where we are right now. SmackDown tag team division is putrid. Tag tag team division is also putrid. I think that's a good word for it. There's just nothing going on. They're building to a tag team title match, I believe, next week, with the Usos against Otis and Tozawa. That is the big match that they are going. It is dreadful right now. And I'm not saying the Viking Raiders have been a very big part of that division recently, but they are one of the few teams in the division. You just sent them out there to beat the Bulls by one man. When you send a credible tag team out there, and credible may be stretching it way big the Bulls maybe, but you know, look, they've been a team for many years, for tag team champions, so they have some degree of credibility on this show. When you send them out there, now I know Otis is a big guy, he's a special talent, but still, it's 1-on-2, and he beats an established tag team. What does that say, A, about the team, and B, about our tag team division? Yeah, I never understood that. I remember years ago when Ryback started to get on TV. They had him going out there, and he was beating jobbers, then he would beat 2 jobbers, then he would beat 3 of them. He was beating guys in 3-on-1 handicap matches. And it got over. He got over doing that stuff. You could always do something like that with Ogo. I mean, you got plenty of people that are down there in developmental people. Nobody would even know who they are right now. You know, or some people who are just getting started. And this would be a great book for them. Send them out there like lambs, go into the slaughter. And it would be fun just to see Ogo roll these guys around. To use the Viking Raiders in that spot at a time when you need to be strengthening the tag team division. All they did here tonight was weaken it. I don't really understand that, but I guess if they were to be on their way out, I guess it wouldn't matter. But we'll see where Obafemi ultimately lands. I'm assuming it won't be Monday Night Raw. We got a Finn Balor video talking about being taken for granted. So what happened in Belfast, that wasn't a one-off, that great match that he had, even though he lost. But he had a great match with CM Punk. Because that wasn't a one-off. I've been showing up and showing out my entire career. Yet Adam Pearce tells me that the Royal Rumble is full. So it looks like the respect only gets you so far in this business. He wants the World Heavyweight Championship. He doesn't think that he's a bad guy, but at this stage, CM Punk unwilling to do bad things. So it looks like we're going to get that probably in the Elimination Chamber. I mean, I guess they could do a TV match, but you got Punk in Chicago. He's going to be on that Elimination Chamber show. What else would he be doing? He doesn't have to be. He's not going to be in an Elimination Chamber match because we now know who he's defending the title against at WrestleMania. That's already been established. So CM Punk against Finn Balor sounds like the Elimination Chamber match. And then, after this, we had the Bella Twins. Now, if you missed the Royal Rumble, Nikki Bella was in the Royal Rumble, and you know who else was in the Royal Rumble? Brie Bella. We've not seen Brie Bella on TV in many years. Brie Bella seemed to be of the impression that the reason WWE wouldn't hire her and bring her back was because her husband worked for AEW. Evidently, that's no longer an issue. Or she was wrong, because now she's back. She came out there as a surprise at number 29 in the Women's Royal Rumble and got the biggest pop of anyone on the show. People went nuts when she came out. They were putting their fingers in the air. I mean, no joke. This is what you heard. When Brie Bella came out at the Royal Rumble. That's what you didn't hear much of it, but you heard people chanting yes. And so I said, like, if this was supposed to be a one-off, there's no way. Like, I figured it probably wasn't going to be a one-off, but if it was, ain't no way that was going to be a one-off after the reaction she got in Riyadh. So here comes Nikki Bella. She comes out first to her music. And then we hear, then out comes Brie Bella. Did not get the kind of reaction she got in Saudi Arabia, but they got a positive reception. And they make their way down to the ring. Now I'm going to have to hear this every single week on TV. Nikki pointed out that this was their first time in the ring together in 7 years. She says that they're all very happy that Brie Mode is back. Who is this, we? Who's this all that she's referring to? Don't speak for me. You don't speak for me. Brie then spoke, and she said she's finally home. And she's sure that we're all wondering, why come back now? The reason why she came back, Nikki and her, they're the original tag team. They are the OGs. This is what she said. They're the OGs, and the division is better than it's ever been, and they want in. It's time for them to go for the Women's Tag Team Championships. That was it.